When your vision and your passion are your driving source. When your directions and your goals are the very source. Everything is charted and planned out for you in your mind, in your heart. Your journey in life seems to be smooth because of your vision. All of a sudden, during that journey, comes a halt, comes a bend, comes a fall. Are we ready for such challenges? Something similar happened with me. 12th February 2021. It felt as if my world was falling apart in front of my eyes. That experience, however, lifted me up stronger, more confident, more resilient. My passion kept me going. People around me helped me get going. And when I came out stronger, the one thing I realized, when the heart leads, the future follows. There are mornings when I wake up before my body does. My mind is ready, but my body isn't. My eyes are open, my hands are still. In those moments, I lie completely still, waiting for sensation to return to my body. I wait to understand what the day will allow me to be. But here's the strange part. In those moments when I was still, those mornings did not take my future away. They actually taught me how to lead it. I live with autoimmune diseases, not one, but 7. It started with 1, but it keeps multiplying. For those of you who are unfamiliar with autoimmunes, they come unannounced, they're very invisible, they come to you very differently. Autoimmunes, our immune system usually fights bacteria when it comes into your body. But here something different happens. Your own immune system mistakenly attacks your body's healthy tissues and your healthy cells. Like I said, they don't announce themselves loudly. They don't even look like the illness people usually expect it to look like. They're often misunderstood, sometimes feared, often silenced. I still remember the moment when I was diagnosed with my first autoimmune. I was told, "You have the Sjogren's syndrome." I was shocked, not just by the diagnosis, but about how little I knew about it. And I also thought, if I'm so scared about what I don't know, there's so many people out there who equally are struggling in silent fear because they don't know what it's all about. Autoimmune diseases, however, teaches you something very, very quickly. Certainty is fragile, control is temporary, and strength doesn't look like the way we imagine it will. One morning, I woke up with a piercing pain in my rib cage. It was sudden, unfamiliar, very sharp. By the end of the day, I noticed bruising and clot-like marks appearing on my arms and my thighs. Each new hour brought a new symptom, and with each symptom, a rising sense of panic. I was being forced to embrace a reality that I did not recognize. By that night, the pain from my ribcage now moved into my joints. My ankles and my wrist hurt so bad, so much. I did not know, and I didn't understand what was happening to me or to my body. I tried curling my wrists beneath me really, really tight, just the way a cat curls itself into a protective shape. I did this with the hope that somehow I would find some ease, little ease, enough for me to rest during the night. That week, I was also scheduled to deliver a lecture. Usually, I can speak an hour or two without any problem at all, since I love the mic. But that day, something very different and weird happened. Midway during my talk, I stopped. I couldn't speak properly at all. My mouth was completely dry. There was no saliva. I didn't understand what was happening. I had to stop, pause, excuse myself, and reach out for water. It felt as if cotton had been stuffed down my throat. This is what most people don't think about. For me, this isn't just water. This is how I survive presentations. This is how I keep speaking. This is how I adapt. And this is exactly how I continue to stand here to be able to speak. That's when I understood one thing. Leadership isn't about pretending that we don't need support. It's about knowing what sustains us and carrying it with courage. It was only then when I realized what Sjogren's was actually about. I read on it, didn't understand much until I experienced it. What happens in Sjogren's is it attacks the body's moisture-producing glands, the very system we depend on to speak, to see, and to function normally. Years before my diagnosis, I was using natural teardrops without understanding why my eyes were always painfully dry. Little did I understand that my body was already giving me silent warning signals long back, but I didn't understand. And that is why I also know right now that when I'm presenting even for 20 minutes, I know what might come. That dryness, that tense, that limitation. And hence, I keep water within reach, not just as a necessity, but as a reminder. Leadership does not come from pretending we are invincible. It is learning how to adapt and honor our limits and to keep showing up anyway. And here I remember something Viktor Frankl once said. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And this is exactly what illness forced me to do. Not just change my health habits, but to change how I lead, how I teach, and how I see systems. I'm not sharing my story for sympathy. I'm sharing it because living with an illness that attacks the body from within forced me to confront a deeper question. What does it really mean to lead? When certainty disappears, when control is gone, when the path ahead is unclear. Autoimmune doesn't allow long-term planning the way we're used to. We've probably planned our next holiday as well, haven't we? But autoimmune doesn't allow that. It demands resilience, not just as a personality trait, but as a daily decision. Sometimes courage looks like showing up. Sometimes it looks like slowing down. Sometimes it looks like rewriting your idea of success altogether. What surprised me most, however, was that illness did not weaken my leadership. It redefined it. It taught me empathy, it taught me patience, and it taught me how to listen deeply to what isn't always visible. And slowly and gradually, I started recognizing that what my body was going through, invisibility, misunderstanding, delayed response, I could see the same pattern in another area which I cared and still care very deeply about: our education systems. Education, like autoimmune disease, often fails quietly. I've seen children sit quietly in classrooms, not because they can't learn, but because we didn't learn how to listen. The damage isn't always obvious at first, and by the time we realize, it's a little too late. We measure outcomes, results, performance. These are something we do for children or to children very often. But what we miss over here and what matters most is we need to look into well-being, values, voice, well-being. When a child is unseen, anxious, or emotionally exhausted, there's no test score or no exam that can measure that damage. My body showed symptoms long before diagnosis, and classrooms also show distress long before failure appears on report cards. One thing I understood deeply: empathy is the ability to notice early signals, which we usually ignore. Value: we teach children how to memorize, not to be human. Kindness, integrity, resilience, empathy, these are not extras. These are the immune system of society, which is what we should be teaching the generation to come. Voice: dangerously, we silence voice. We train children to comply before we teach them how to think. We teach them to raise hands for permission, not for the truth. We teach them to answer questions, not to ask them. Just like autoimmune diseases, symptoms stop listening to early signals. And if we don't notice these signals in time, we need to understand that they don't collapse loudly. They deteriorate quietly. We wait too long to listen. We delay empathy, and then we delay healing. And by the time we realize, damage has already taken root. Living inside a system that was failing me taught me how dangerous it is when systems lose their heart. Education does not need more content. It needs passionate leaders who understand that empathy is not weakness, it is intelligence. Just like the courage required to live with uncertainty is the same courage required to reimagine education, to ask harder questions, to challenge inherited models, and to build systems that serve humans, not the other way around. Autoimmune illnesses till date are spoken about in whispers. Education reform is spoken about in buzzwords. In both spaces, silence feeds fear. And that's when I began writing this journey of mine, writing a book. Not a book about illness, but as a reminder that life does not end at diagnosis. I wanted to reach out to those who are living quietly in fear, denial, and exhaustion. I want them to know that the path ahead, although difficult, is very manageable. It's still possible to dream, it's still possible to lead, and it's still possible to live a meaningful life. And along this journey, I met so many who were actually suffering in silence. They were told either directly or indirectly that illness means limitation. And I'm writing a book, not because I have all the answers, but I want others to know that they are not alone. Life with autoimmune disease is not the end of normalcy. It is the beginning of learning how to live differently, more consciously, more courageously. This story will be shared later this year, not to sell hope, but to remind people that they already carry it. And I've learned this: what we name, we can face. What we face, we can change. And the heart is not separate from leadership. It is where leadership begins. When we disconnect from it, systems harden. When we lead with it, systems heal. Healing and education follow the same law. What we nurture strengthens. What we ignore weakens. My body fought to survive, and my heart chose to serve. That is true leadership. If our schools are the immune system of society, then heart-led leadership is not optional. It is protective, it is strategic, It is transformative. When we lead without the heart, we're controlling systems. And when we lead with the heart, we are transforming systems. We spend our lives following directions, expectations, deadlines, systems. We trust this to guide us across roads and oceans. But the most important compass we carry isn't in our hands, it's here. Illness did not define my limits. It revealed my compass. Whether leading bodies, classrooms, or systems, the truth remains the same. When the heart leads, the future follows, and in that following, it transforms. Before you leave this room today, I'd like to ask you a question. What leads you today? What leads your life today? Pressure or your heart? Think about it. Thank you.